stuff that's happening at the moment, it's just unbelievable. However, that will lead us on to something that's perhaps even bigger than any of this stuff that we've discussed, right?
And there's media blackout on it.
Sorry?
And there's media blackout on it.
Yes, there is. And that's maybe more worrying than anything.
So this is a big subject, David, and it'll take us 20 minutes to cover, so we may as well get into it.
Okay.
Right, and that is Saudi and Iran moving to the Shanghai, it's called SCO, Shanghai Cooperation Organization. It's a trading pact made up of the BRICS countries, and Saudi Arabia and Iran are now in the process of joining. And Brazil, of course, is, I'll let you tell what Brazil declared this morning.
Yeah, Brazil's biggest banking corporation have agreed with China to pay or to take payment for any oil that changes hands in the yuan. So that means the petrodollar is now officially under embattlement. In actual fact, I would say that if this continues at the pace that it's been happening over the past couple of weeks, I see the American petrodollar falling, collapsing within the next month.
Aye, because Saudi's already agreed to accept the PetroYuan.
Yeah.
And they're going to take OPEC and Iran with them.
Yeah.
And that means that most of the world's oil production will be bought, and not the petrodollar, but in the PetroYuan.
Now, the consequences of this are that you've got the American military industrial complex. The only thing that they can possibly do is rape and pillage. They are going to attack somebody. It's the only thing they can do. If the petrodollar goes down the Swanee, then that means that America
it's not the only thing they could. They could, of course, preempt this by introducing a central bank digital currencies and watch your fiat currencies disappear altogether.
Yeah, but the thing is, though, if the yuan is made into a gold-backed currency,
and we know that Russia, China, and the Arab countries have all been buying up gold.
That's right. That means that all the other fiat currencies will go, and that means all the central banks will go, and it's just a matter of timing as to whether a central bank digital currency will be introduced.
Aye, and Ginger Giraffes, who's in America, she's saying this is going to hurt her.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
But it's not just going to affect America, it's going to affect the whole of the West, who has used basically the petrodollar as the backing for their currency, and it's going to be the petrodollar as the reserve currency, basically. Because what happens here is the yuan is going to replace the American dollar or the petrodollar as the reserve currency, if you like, the top reserve currency. There are 7 reserve currencies, the basket of reserve currencies. But as I say, it will push the United States down. And let's face it, we have a population of 1.6 billion in China, a population of nearly 1 billion in India. In fact, I think there's 400 or 500 million in Pakistan. Brazil's a huge place. Actually, America's just been dwarfed by these places.
I know that.
Absolutely dwarfed.
One of the oldest phrases in business, and I'll tell you, right, is when America catches a cold, the rest of the world catches a flu. And that's a fact. That is a fact, because the Americans will fight to preserve their situation.
Just asking, who will we declare war on to stop this? I'm afraid it can't be stopped. The dynamics of the planet are changing.
Yeah.
China has become the industrial heartland of the world.
Yeah.
And the greater populations in India, Pakistan, Brazil, and the fair-sized population in Russia, when you put that together, and the countries that are now joining the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, which is, as I say, the trading pact, they're going to start dealing in yuan. And there's nothing we can do about it, Ginger. It just so happens that the time has come when world power is shifting.
Yeah.
and we're going to be here to see it. As I said, there's only one way they're going to be able to do this, and that is to actually scrap the current monetary system, and we know where we're going with that. We're going with central bank digital currencies, which we all know isn't going to be a good thing. But it's a serious situation that's coming to a head. Here we've got Saudi Arabia and New Brazil saying they're going to buy oil and the PetroYuan as opposed to the PetroDollar. We're seeing power shift, rightly so, to the larger populations.
Yeah.
Thank you, my lord.
Please.
Certainly, come on, be a
And if you want my prediction in terms of who's going to be next to join this group, I would say it's highly likely that Venezuela may join, because Venezuela have been very, very much under the shadow of America. Their politics and everything have been pushed along because they've got the largest oil stocks in the world. And America see it is important to keep a hold of them. Well, if they join that group with China and all the rest of it, it's like America's effectively gone financially.
Ginger, you're right. The West won't go down without a fight, but I'm sorry, power's shifting.
That's right. Yeah.
There's nothing we can do to stop this. The minute these countries decide they're not going to use our currencies as reserve currencies anymore, there's nothing we can do about it.
And here's another heads up, guys. If we don't want to be involved in another war, we don't want to see our lads and lasses killed because somebody's scared they're going to lose the bank balance. We need to become an independent country.
Very rapidly. Now, Dean Halliday on Facebook is making a good point. Not a peep about this in the mainstream media. As you know, folks, I did a short on this a couple of weeks ago when China brokered the peace deal between Saudi Arabia and Iran, and there was not a peep in the international press about this. That's because they don't want you to know power is shifting.
Yeah.
They don't want the population to know that the power is shifting from the west to the east. And as I say, it's only fair. There's a bigger populations there. They have greater needs. What we're seeing is an absolute reversal. America, the UK, and eventually Europe are becoming third world countries as we exhaust for resources and things like that. Yeah. And the third world countries come to the fore.
And
as they bring their populations up out of poverty through decent education, decent health services, and of course the fact that they've cornered international trade.
Yeah.
We buy more from China, Pakistan, and India than probably America altogether, actually.
I used to do a lot of work for BT as a contractor, and I used to cover the West Coast, the West Highlands, and it was a great part of my life. Really brilliant, right? However, the issue with a laptop, and that's got the whole BT database on it, so you can quickly look up stuff, right? And the people that dealt with all those laptops were based in Bangalore, right? And we used to call BT Bangalore Telecom because it was run from India, you know. So
it brings me on to another subject. Somebody asked why it is that Royal Mail's talk about a voluntary bankruptcy, because they're trying to sell it and nobody wants to buy it, and they're not making money out of it. Yeah. So the people who have made money out of it right now are going to dump it, and the taxpayer will have to pick up and start again.
Yeah, it used to cost 40 quid to get a winding up order, right? I don't know what it costs now, but I can't imagine it costs that much more nowadays, right? And if somebody wants their company wound up, they just go and buy a load of gear for somebody that they know that's going to go for a winding up order, and then that's it, it's done. You don't have any bother with trying to wind up the company yourself, right?
But Royal Mail was another one of these public services which should never have been put into private hands in the first place.
Well, Royal Mail I was in post office telecommunications when I left school, right? And the postal side was just another part of that, right? In actual fact, and the telephone exchange that I worked out of, the guy that came to do the lifts was actually the lifts that went up and down the building. He was employed by the postal side. You know, so
Alex, I'm saying, yeah, the peace deal between Iran and Saudi Arabia was just the beginning. Aye, and what we've got to realise, folks, is China have made vast inroads into Africa, the African nations as well. And they're not charging the exorbitant rates that the World Bank or, say, the UK or the US are on debt to these places.
Now, you want to hear the really, really spooky bit? The really spooky bit is that Bloomberg, just before I came on the broadcast here, I actually saw they put up the little ticker tape of little captions that they do, right? And it says that China, it just says China are contacting CEOs everywhere to try and convince them there's not going to be a war.
I can't see the Americans letting this slide.
To me, when something like that happens, that means there's going to be a war.
It's 9:44 p.m. here in the Philippines, and it's 30 degrees up here. Very good. US panicking over China and Latin America too. Yes, Dodger, they are. China are reaching out, and China's got more money.
Yeah.
And America will try the might is right thing, but China's bigger. I'm sorry.
It could well be that there could be a backdoor deal between China and Russia. Russia at the moment need weapons. We know that they've used up basically all of the missiles that they've got and all the rest of it, right? China have got those, right? And we know that China want to actually produce a gold-backed currency, and we know that Russia were trying to produce a gold-backed currency. So Russia have already got a large stock of gold that they might let go to China for giving them more weapons. Just a thought, just me sort of like smelling what's in the wind. And
a couple of other things that are in the wind. While China was in Russia last week, the Chinese president was in Russia last week with a meeting with in fact, it might even be earlier this week. They're trying to broker a peace deal between Ukraine and Russia.
Yeah.
And they're doing a 14-point route map to peace.
Mm-hmm.
So China's being seen as the big boys in the room here.
Yeah, they are.
The adults,
yeah. But it does seem that there is an agenda there, and it's rather clear, and it's boxing America out all the way around, right? And because the UK effectively is one of America's vassal states, then that is also going to include us.
Of course, Russia's been buying weapons from China through third parties, that's true. China intends to own most of the African coastal infrastructure sooner rather than later. To be honest, they're paying for the upgrade of that infrastructure because what they're doing is they're reopening what they used to call the old Silk trade routes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They're also building they're also building railways right through Africa, up round through Russia, across the Gobi Desert and into China.
Yeah.
You know?
And if you look at the geopolitical situation, if the petrodollar does go bump, then straight away you've got other vassal states like Israel. Israel receive over $100 billion in weapons aid every single year. And if the petrodollar is gone, then that means Israel no longer gets that. And that changes the balance of power in the Middle East. Yeah.
Aye, that's true. But the balance of power is shifted.
I know that.
There is no doubt about it.
Yeah.
There is no doubt about it.
Yeah.
And it's a matter of how certain powers here in the West react.
Yeah. Guys, I've got to say the batteries in my crystal ball are gone, and the wee LED light in it's gone as well. And it's like we're having to find this out just bit by bit. Just struggling to, doing researches here and there and all the rest of it. You lot should be doing the same. Yeah.
You might be doing searches. I'm putting bloody yours into this.
Oh, did I touch a nerve?
You know, I'll be sitting reading this pish as it comes through on the news wires, because this is the biggest story on the planet right now, and we're hearing nothing about it. In fact, if I hadn't done my wee programme the other week, there most people here wouldn't know nothing about it.
What he doesn't tell you, he's got a wee ticker tape machine in the back of his head.
Don't know, John. I don't know whether World War III is on the horizon. There might be a few skirmishes here and there.
World War III is bad for business. I think you've got to keep that in mind. And I think most of the actors in all of this will realise that World War III is bad for business. However, taking us right up to that point is good for business because, well, it lets certain people get their way.
But the real reason why I don't think it'll go that far is because I'm looking at the ticker tapes out there on the world press, David, as you know, and they're talking about a new Cold War.
Yeah.
You know, with these states that are joining the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. You know, because it's not just a trading pact; it's also security agreement.
Yeah.
You know, so this, folks, is the biggest story on the planet which you are not being told about. Now, David and I have reported on it a couple of times, and I reported on the Iran and Saudi Arabia peace treaty the day or so after it was signed, because that took that long to filter through.
Yeah.
You know,
I think we've got to be aware that the longer they can keep you lot scared.
But that's what I mean, bro, about skirmishes. What's going on in the South China Sea with Taiwan now? I don't see that escalating beyond the South China Sea.
Yeah.
You know,
and you look at Britain, right? Royal Navy is in a bit of a state. That's the same.
20 boats. 20 bloody boats, and they're even not working.
Yeah, I know.
Sorry, about 28 boats.
Yeah. The aircraft carrier, the Prince of Wales, was the one where the prop shaft broke. And it's going to cost something like 20 million or something like that just to repair that, you know. But what dry dock are you going to pull that into, you know?
But that's a good point for Mr. V. The fear of war allows the political changes that would otherwise be impossible. That's right.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And that's, as I say, and if the petrodollar is going to collapse, you're going to see us move quicker to CBDCs. Yeah. Something like that. And as we've reported on here, the Bank of International Settlement, which is the central bank of central banks, it wants these things in place by January 1st, 2025 anyway.
Yeah.
You know, but it might have to accelerate because of the situation with all these big countries moving to buying their fuel in the yuan.
That's right.
Which will see the collapse of the petrodollar.
But
what do they know about China? And this seems to be the truth of it. China hasn't done what it's done across Africa or the Arab nations by force. It's done it by cooperation, goodwill, and building infrastructure.
Yeah, and also the fact is they've got a big blooming stack of money behind them that they can go about and go, yeah, right, we'll give you a couple of billion for that, you know.
Aye, and we'll keep our interest rates down to something reasonable at 1 or 2%, unlike the West, who slaughter the poor African nations and Central Arabic nations with huge interest rates on debt.
The only thing I've seen on the feed that's bad for China is their home construction market is getting wobbly.
Aye, John said the destroyers will get the wrong engines under the aircraft carriers.
Right.
And that one's come back with, aye, but the ferries, John.
The wrong engines are quite interesting. Anytime they get into warmer water, warmer climates, the engines overheat and stop working. Yeah, so.
Oh, China doesn't need to. As I say, China have been doing it with goodwill.
Yeah.
I mean, who would have thought you could broker a peace deal between Iran and Saudi Arabia? Wow. There have been loggerheads for as long as I've been, longer than I've been alive, actually.
Yeah.
Since the partition of the Persian Empire.
Yeah.
You know.
Be rather interesting if China went into Afghanistan. See what they would do there. Just out of sheer bloody interest, you know. Come out with the Mujahideen all with a smile on their face and saying, we're going to send all the lasses back to school.
Actually, Stephen Kelly on Facebook makes a good point. The UK has only got 220 tanks and they just need 12 of them at Ukraine. And John's got an angry face on saying, Fiona, why bring up the ferries? But folks, to get back to a wee bit of the serious stuff here, there's actually a big shift in the world and our media are not telling you about it. David and I will try and keep abreast of it and give you updates as time goes on. But Ukraine is using Ukrainian kids as human shields according to Amnesty International, isn't it? Wow. Using their own children as human shields.
No, I'm sure that's the other way around. Isn't it Russia that have taken a few of the Ukrainian children?
Aye, but they were actually kidnapped, if you like. They were taken out of Russia.
Yeah.
Taken out of Ukraine. That's illegal. That's child trafficking. You know. But as I say, the big story on the planet right now, folks. Get tuned in. You know how to use your search engine. Get tuned in. It's what's going on with Brazil, Saudi Arabia, Iran, the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, which is a trading bloc as well as a security bloc.
Yeah.
So what you're finding is that we're seeing lines drawn again, aren't we? A bit like the Cold War. But that's it seems to be halfway across the planet. This line's getting drawn.
Yeah, the place to get your information from is
not thanks to you.
Yeah, not necessarily Facebook or anywhere else like that. The best place to get the information from is where all the businesses get their information from. You're talking CNBC, Bloomberg, you know, and all the business feeds that you can post. Yeah, that's right.
That's the places. But when you're using your search engine, folks, use your search engine.
Yeah.
Your search engine is your friend at this point in time.
Yeah.
And if you've got a VPN, set yourself as being in an Asian country or something like that. Or maybe America or something like that. But we're saying that America's got the same media blackout that we've got here.
Right.
I mean, I'm getting most of this news out of the Arab states at the moment, you know. But even Al Jazeera here in the UK is getting news blackout on it.
Yeah.
But if you go into Al Jazeera elsewhere, you'll get this news. You know, so it's a matter of using your VPN. Aye, France 24 is a good source of news. I don't know whether they've been covering this one or no. I haven't had a look at France 24. So, as I say, this is a big story on the planet, folks, and you're getting the wool pulling over your eyes.
Yeah, it's very, very serious. Do I think it's going to end up World War III? I think that depends on America.
Aye, and remember, folks, back here in Scotland, it's time to get the band back together.
Yes.
Partisan politics in your pocket unless there's an election on. Eyes on the prize. Get out there and win hearts and minds. And as I say, the fact that we now have a Minister for Independence will help.
Yeah.